This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of the great state of Texas, Sharon Newman, who is the head of school of Buckner Fanning School at Mission Springs in San Antonio, Texas. And I got connected with her, probably about a month or two ago now at this point. Got to know a little bit about her and her school and was like, you know what? After we talked for a little bit, it was like, we got to have an episode to talk about all the things we're about to talk about here in just a few minutes. But before we jump into all those things, I always pass it off to the guests to introduce themselves first. So, Sharon, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you, Mitchell. It's so good to be here. Yes, as you said, my name is Sharon Newman. I'm at Buckner Fanning School at Mission Springs, and I'm blessed and grateful to be here. I'm here after a very long career in public school, and I've been now in private school for 14 years, and both have been a gift and a blessing to me.
Love it. Well, I'm super glad that you take some time out of your day to hop on the podcast, talk to our listeners, and teach me and them some things. But before we jump into all the nitty-gritty fun stuff for today, I always ask everybody the same question to start us off, and it's this. If I was to go visit you and your school in San Antonio, Texas, what would you say, Mitchell? You need to eat this and do this to experience San Antonio, Texas.
Well, most definitely you should eat Mexican food, and you should go to the Pearl or the Riverwalk because they are both beautiful and both represent our city very well.
Okay. Is there a specific Mexican restaurant you would say you got to get this one because this is the legit one, and then this one over here is not the legit one?
Well, it depends if you like Tex-Mex or if you want the real deal. If you want the real deal, you should go to any restaurant on the south side of the city. And if you want Tex-Mex, well, you could go to Lupe Tortilla, you could go to Alamo Cafe, you could go to Chewy's. Really, Vida Mia is my very favorite restaurant for Mexican food in San Antonio.
Okay, there we go. See, I use this as a reference point. So if I ever do visit these areas, I can just pull up this podcast. You're like, this Sharon lady, she told me to go to this place.
Yep.
So.
Well, the chicken soup at Vida Mia is the very best. So go for it if you ever come here. I'll take you if you ever come here.
Perfect. There we go. It's a date. Thank you. Well, as we dive into today's content, before we I know I have some questions for you. Give people just a little bit more background in yourself. I know you've been in education for a long time. You mentioned your public school days beforehand. Share a little bit more about that and about your school. And then I do have some specific questions for you.
Okay. Yes, I started my career as an elementary school teacher in public school. And I did that for 10 years. And then I went into administration in public school, and I was an assistant principal for 5 years and then a principal for probably 20 years. And I loved that work so much. I love the children. I love the relationships. I love the teachers. I love the problem solving. I loved the multitasking. But at the end of that time, I thought I was done. I wanted to do something differently. And at that time, there was a big change in public education in Texas, and we lost a lot of our autonomy. And so I thought, I really want to be in a place where I can do what I think is best and right for children, because certainly it's not a cookie cutter approach in every school. So I left and I worked at Trinity University, and I worked at a tutoring center, but every day I miss being a principal. So during that year, I was fortunate to be hired by a Title I school in a different part of the city. And I'd always worked in middle to upper middle class schools. And so I thought, well, that'll be a great challenge. I can go work in this school and see if you can do in a different setting the same things we did in the settings that I was familiar with. And so I got there, and it was a wonderful learning experience for me. The kids came from very different places, but they still wanted the same things. They wanted to be loved. They wanted to be accepted. They wanted to feel included. And I loved that year. It was difficult because in that part of the city at that time, there were a lot of drugs. There was a lot of drive-by shootings. And honestly, Mitchell, every day my family would say, please don't go there one more day. But
Mm.
I loved it. And I felt it was for sure a place that I could make a difference. But during that time, someone from Buckner Fanning School called and asked if I would come here. And at that time, it was very close to my home, and it was really a stone's throw from where my public school had been the last 10 years in my career in that school district. So I came, and honestly, when I got here, I thought, well, why do people want to bring their children to this private school? Because we sit in the middle of really great schools in this part of our city in San Antonio. But certainly, very quickly, I understood the value of a private education and the value of small class sizes, the value of Christian education for sure. So here I am 14 years later, still doing it and thinking every day, I am legitimately too old to do this job, but I love the people and I love the work, and I feel truly, truly blessed and grateful to get to do the work I know I'm called to do in this life. And so I feel like really at this time in my life, it's a gift and a blessing to be here every day doing the work I love.
I love it. You're proving that age is really just a number. It really is. So you can still
Well,
do
it's a
it.
good thing it's a podcast because people might think differently if they can see
I mean,
that.
I'm thinking, those that are listening, I think she's about 42, 43. She's been here, not very many years in education.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Thank you, Dick.
obviously, Sharon, thank you for all the years you've put into pouring into education, loving students, leading students and faculty. And you're still doing it, which is awesome. And I hope that's an encouragement to all those that are listening that are in education. I know that you can get burned out really easily, and you're still going strong and loving what you're doing, which it shows. You can tell by just talking to you and seeing your smile. It's very genuine. You love what you're doing. So it's contagious. I love that.
Just last night, I was with some people who are all in this retired teacher or guest teacher association in San Antonio. And of course, they were saying, why do you still work? And I said, because I love it. I love every part of the work. And they said, well, then you're doing the work you should be doing. Don't quit as long as you like it. So, yes, until I think I can't be effective or I can't make a difference or I don't like what I do, then I'll be here.
There you go. Well, you mentioned some things on our first call that we had that really stood out to me that I loved. And there's kind of like some, maybe, I guess if you'd say, different philosophies that you guys have when it comes to running your school or your hiring. And one of the things you mentioned was you really want to specifically, and you would think this is a no-brainer, like every school would do this, but I don't think that's actually the case, is where you hire faculty that truly just love students. Like that is that you can just see it's natural. It's not they're forcing it, because obviously just getting a degree doesn't mean you're going to be a great teacher. And so I'd love you to kind of just share a little bit about that. What do you guys look for in staffing, and what specifically, obviously, am I talking about without me giving away all this stuff? I'll let you share a little bit of that.
So, Mitchell, years and years ago, we had a training in my school district, district that I was in at that time. And it was done by the Gallup poll. And it really did help change my perspective on hiring and really cement how to hire for me going forward. And the philosophy is that you hire for talent. And for me, that's hire for the love of children. And so what they taught me so well during that week training was that I can teach someone how to teach math and how to teach reading or how to teach whatever the skill is, but I can't teach someone how to love children, how to build strong relationships between the parent and the teacher, the child and the teacher, teachers with each other. And so that has served me very, very well for a very long time. Is in an interview to really ask some very purposeful questions about how teachers build relationships and really why they want to be a teacher. I remember, I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but one of the interviews I did years ago, we asked, why would you like to work here? And she said, well, really, I need to get in the Texas teacher retirement system. And we thought, oh, well, that's probably, we didn't say it out loud, but that's probably not the reason we would want to hire someone. So I really have always gone for the love of children. And I can tell you after all these years, it has served me very, very well. And I feel like I have been the recipient of so many, many, many strong relationships because I'm not trying to help people do something that's not in their heart. It's already in their heart. And so you just hire for talent, for love of children, and then put them in an environment where the relationships come first. And I want to treat teachers the way I want teachers to treat children, which is with love and care and concern and really space to be who they are meant to be. So after you and I talked, I really did think about that. Where did I get this philosophy that has so driven everything I've done in public and private education? And it was that Gallup training. And if you Google Gallup's hiring philosophy, that's what you're going to see.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple of years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. And it makes so much sense to me. And I think I shared this with you when we first chatted, and I've shared this before on the podcast. Like, I was a youth pastor years ago, and I remember I wanted to work at this church that I'd actually kind of grew up in. And they were like, well, you need at least a bachelor's degree before we'll even look at you. And I was like, well, you do know me though, like, my, whatever. And they were like, no, you need to get a bachelor's degree. And so long story short, fast forward, there was a church that I was connected with that they were like willing to hire me. And I was like, well, I don't have a degree in any of this. And he hired me based on just, I love kids. And he's like, you can teach you the other stuff. And I remember we're on a mission trip in Mexico, and a guy was asking like, man, where'd you find Mitchell? How'd you get him? Where'd he go to school? And he's like, Mitchell kind of found us, and he doesn't have a degree. And the guy was like, whoa, we've been looking for a youth pastor for over a year, but the minimum requirement our church is looking for is a master's degree to get a youth pastor in. And my pastor was like, I knew Mitchell had what we were looking for, and I could teach him the other stuff later on because he loves students and he loves all that stuff. And so he told me that after the fact, and that meant so much to me because I didn't have the credentials they were looking for, but I love kids. I love students. I like, give me in front of them. Let's play a game. Let's learn about Jesus, and it's going to be a good time. But that resonated with me when you shared that, because I feel like there's so many schools that miss out maybe on really good people because they're maybe looking for a specific credential, right? That they're like, well, we got to have this, because if we have this means they're very, very good. And you might miss out on all these amazing up and coming teachers or faculty or whatever, because we're looking for something that maybe really, really don't need. So I know some of the other things, Sharon, that you had shared on that first call that we had was you believed specifically, you can dive into this a little bit more, but you believed in the art of teaching, and you believe in teachers truly as a calling that they have on their life. Like, kind of diving into that a little bit, what does that mean when you think about that? There's specifically the art of teaching you believe in, and teaching is a calling.
Well, I believe in the art and the science of teaching, and I believe you have to have both of those. But the art, for sure, is much harder to teach. The science you can teach, but the very best teachers I've ever worked with have both the art and the science. The art, like I said, must come first. And I can tell when I am in a classroom, or as I'm interviewing teachers who feel passionate about what they do, teachers who feel that they are there as a result of a calling and not just for a job. And I feel like, unfortunately, that teachers are often not paid the way they should be paid, or not treated the way they should be paid, because they're like a missionary doing really God's work. Whether you're in public school or private school, I think it's God's work that we're doing. And I feel like we have to have a higher calling to do that, because you walk a very, very, very difficult journey. And many of us can make it look easy because it is our calling and it's our passion. And when it's your calling, there's really no end to what we would do for a child. And I see that in myself, and I see that in the teachers who I work with every day, that what we do goes beyond the pages on the math book or the phonetic analysis we're teaching. It is really to get to that heart of a child. And I think we are committed at my school to helping children to learn how to be successful today, tomorrow, in the future. And that really does come from a deep, deep commitment to children and a commitment to their success now and in the future. And for me, like I told you earlier, I feel extraordinarily blessed to get to do the job I'm called to do. And if I didn't feel called to do it, I wouldn't be here doing it today. I don't think many of the teachers in this beautiful private school are retired public school teachers, and they have come here or they have recently taught in public school, whether they're retired or not, but they like the autonomy of being able to do, again, what they know is right and best for children. So we give the teachers the space they need, they give the children the space they need. And there's a lot of love and support blowing throughout this school because it is our calling and our passion.
Love it. I'm sure all the families can feel that and see that, and they don't have to look very hard to be able to find that. So I love that. You mentioned in our first call about you are a kid person, not a money person. What does that mean when somebody says they're a kid person, not a money person?
Well, obviously, I'm in education, so I'm not a money person. And I was always in a wonderful situation in my life where I didn't have to, think about, can I do this and can I feed my family? Because my spouse was always able to help. And I think that's unfortunate. I think teachers should get paid enough to not have to worry about that, but they do. But I think, again, because it's my calling and my love for kids, that it doesn't matter if you're getting paid $1,000 a day or $100 a day or whatever it is. That's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you believe in the mission. You believe in that we can make a difference in children's lives long term. And because I've done this for so long, it's just so rewarding when people circle back and say, I became a teacher because of you. I sat next to a girl the other day at a nail salon, and she said, I know you. And I looked at her face and I said, I think I know you too. Well, she had been a student at my school, my public school, my last public school, and she had a very, very, very difficult life. And she said, Ms. Newman, I'll never forget, there were 3 of the children. And she said, and she named these other children and said, you loved us in spite of everything that happened. You loved us every day. And we wanted to be there every day because we felt safe and loved. And she said, I wanted to reach you, and my mother has wanted to reach you to tell you that you are one of the main reasons that I became a teacher. And so those full circle moments, that's why I'm a kid person, not a money person, because money cannot do that for me. But knowing that you've really been a part of someone's life in such an intimate way that most professions are not allowed to enter into, we are as educators. And I don't think we should be afraid of that, even in this crazy world we live in. Our kids need us so desperately. And even in a private school where people pay a lot of money to come here, these children need us so much because families are difficult, and regardless of the socioeconomic status. So I know I keep saying it's a gift and a blessing, but it is for me a personal gift and a blessing. And I feel so fortunate to have been given the opportunity to be a kid person.
I love it. I feel like I'm definitely a kid person. I mean, a youth pastor, I feel like it comes out of you naturally. You're just like,
You are.
kids, let's go play some games. We got students tonight at church, and I just want to play. I'm looking forward to playing games and stuff tonight. Yeah. You mentioned something I think is really cool when you were talking about the nail salon and the impact you had on the student, and she shared that. I know those moments feel really good. They feel really special. But I feel like a lot of times we won't share those things with people, even though we know, like, oh man, I really appreciate that so-and-so, or we'll tell somebody else, but we actually won't tell that person that was that impactful for us. So anybody who's listening, if you were impacted by a teacher or a pastor or somebody, like, just pause the podcast and send them a text real quick and say, man, hey, that was really meaningful when you did this. It could have been years ago. That stuff means the world. When students have reached out to me for like any type of pastoring thing that they were like, oh, this really meant a lot to me all these years ago, man, those just feel so much. They feel so different in such a great way. And so hopefully everybody goes and does that real quick and goes and thanks somebody. And then, come back to the podcast and listen to it after you're done with that. You mentioned, Sharon, too, in our first call about you're I know you're only 42 years old, like we were talking about, right? But you're diving into this brand new thing called AI that's taken over the whole world. I would love to hear what are some of the things you guys are doing with AI, because you shared something I thought was really cool that you were doing specifically with it.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. And I don't know, I think I told you that several years ago, my daughter and I were driving to see my mother, and I told her on that trip that I wanted her to teach me two things. One was about AI, and one was about 3D printers. So we talked about AI, and she has several friends who were teachers in another school district, and she told me that those teachers were using AI to help rewrite some reading curriculum. And I thought, well, man, if they can do that, I need to go home that tonight and figure that out. So we visited my mother. We came back to San Antonio, and that is exactly what I did. And so I cannot tell you enough how strongly I feel about AI and the way it has helped me in my job. And honestly, even though I love the kids, I'm not sure I would still be doing the job without the help of AI, because in the beginning, before I really knew how to use it, it would just get me from point A to point B. If I needed to write a newsletter, I would, I would not use it to the depth and breadth that I use it today. So it is such a time saver. It knows my voice. I feel like it knows my heart, as silly as that sounds. But so I'll just put a few topics for the newsletter, for staff development, for parent training, for what, like this morning, we were working on our annual fund campaign. And what would take me hours to come up with, it's done in a matter of 30 to 45 seconds. And yeah, I've figured out now, the commands to give it. So I use it. We all use it in the office exclusively, and we have worked with the teachers to show them how to use it for lesson plans. They use it for differentiating their lesson plans. They use it for really. We've written whole year curriculums with it. Now we certainly go back and put our own uh, touch to it based on what we're doing as a school. But one of the things I love most about AI, Mitchell, is it asks me questions and causes me to pause and think about things that I would not have thought about in the past. And I think I shared with you that we are doing the 7 habits, Covey's 7 habits with our children. We have chapel twice a week, and that's been my focus since the beginning of the school year. And I am sitting here today simply amazed by what it has done for me. It takes the habits, it'll add scriptures, it gives examples based on those scriptures. And we have a counselor who comes once a week to the school, and she's also been doing following up after our chapel on the 7 habits. And she came in here yesterday and she said, Sharon, I am so impressed with how your kids know so much about the 7 habits. She said, we were just talking about habit 4, which is think win-win. And she said, they wanted to tell me about win-lose and lose-lose and lose-win. And they know the scriptures that are associated with it. So I am a believer, and I know that there are negative aspects to it, but when you use it for the good, it is a enormous time saver for administrators and teachers.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. And you said it perfectly about there's obviously it's not all good. There's of course bad things, parts of it, of course, just like anything. You can overuse something, abuse something, it can become an idol, all these different things. But I think the biggest thing you mentioned on that first call we had was how like we need to be good stewards of our time. And so if we're doing something, and I've told schools this for now years that I've been talking to them, it's like, well, if you're taking 4 hours to do this thing, but you could do this over here, to now it's only going to take you an hour. That's being a good steward. Now you have 3 hours to go do more intentional time with the students or something else where it actually really does need you. Like the students need a person, not a computer. And so it's like, that's where I want your time to be spent more. And so it's being a good steward of your time. And most people don't want to do these you get a little tasked over and over again where you're just doing the same thing. Nobody really wants to, at least I've not met one of those people that just loves doing the same thing over and over again, and somebody could automate that. So you're 100% right. There's a bad pieces of it, but we need to be good stewards of our time. And I do think there's a way to do that really well.
Mitchell, that really just circles back to our beginning conversation about the importance of relationships, because I feel like this has taken so much off of my plate in terms of time committed to writing all the things that I have to write. So it gives me more, like you said earlier, the face time, where the relationship is really the focus of my day, with face-to-face relationships, not sitting at the desk working on newsletters or staff development plans or whatever I have to do. That has really been supported and almost taken care of by AI. They can't take care of the relationships. I can do that. And so doing that paperwork piece certainly frees me up to do the people part of the job, which I love.
I love that. Well, you've been doing education for a long time. So I always like to end with one major question that is going to be my favorite. It's always my favorite question, but it is, share one final piece of advice that you would have from all these years in education. You got all these school leaders that are going to be listening to this. What would be your one final piece of advice for the school leaders listening?
I hope it doesn't sound corny, but it is what I truly believe, is to love abundantly. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb for children. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb for your teachers. Don't worry if someone thinks it's corny. In this crazy world we live in, I just think to love abundantly is my very best advice.
And I love that advice. And I'll add one thing to that because of how much I love it. I remember when first time I was a youth pastor, I was at this church, and I was really struggling. I felt like to connect with these students. And I was talking to a pastor friend of mine, getting some advice. I was like, I said, I don't think they're listening. I don't think they're listening. Any of the things I'm sharing with them. And he goes, do you love the kids? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I love the kids. And he's like, do they know that you love them? And I said, yes, they know that I love them. And he goes, you're doing a great job, Mitchell. He goes, 10 years from now, they're not going to remember that devotion that you gave them or that thing you preached on, but they will remember how you made them feel and how they felt when they were inside the church or when they were in public with you or whatever. And he goes, that will never leave. And that has stuck with me for now well over a decade of that going, that's so true. Because I think about the people in my life, I don't really remember what they've said, but man, I remember I was always happy when I was around that person, or they were always so fun to be around. And why were they that way? Oh, they love Jesus, or they loved me, and they loved the school. So I think it applies obviously to school, for the school. Like, they might not remember that math equation, lesson that you did, but boy, they're going to remember you made it fun, and you were laughing, you're having a good time, you showed them love. So I think exactly what you're saying, love abundantly, is going to last for their whole life. I feel like that they're going to remember that.
It does.
I love that. Sharon, thank you for all your years in education and for taking time out of your day. I know you guys are in the middle of school. It's the school you're hopping on this. So thank you for taking time out of it, and hope you do many, many more years in education before you call it quits. All right. So thank you for taking time out of your day today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and best wishes to you.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Sharon for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love what they're doing over in Texas. And as always, I'm wishing them nothing but the best as they continue to grow and educate the next generation that is coming behind us. And as always, hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Before you guys go, as always, I do want to make sure you're aware of the 3 free resources we have available here at School Success. And the first one is the podcast that you're listening to right now. We are dropping weekly episodes every single Monday morning, and we do want to make sure you are not missing out on those. So if you're not yet subscribed, subscribe so you get those every Monday morning. We try to keep them around the half-hour mark. Some are longer, some are shorter, but we do try and keep it somewhat around that time, so you can listen to it on your drive into work and back, or whatever is convenient for you. Maybe that morning workout that you guys are doing, whatever it is. We do try to keep it around there as much as possible, but sometimes the conversations are just so good that we keep on going. But make sure you're subscribed. If you love our content, we would love a 5-star review. That'd be awesome as well. The second free resource is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. In the top right-hand corner is a button, the School Success Report. If you sign up for that, we will email you directly every single week with the report, which is just kind of comprised of different articles the team has either written or found online to make you, the school leader and educator, more successful. And it is jam-packed with some really good stuff. Want to make sure you're not missing out on that as well. Last but not least is our free private Facebook community, School Success Makers. I'm personally in that group. Would love to see you in there as well. It's a place to be able to meet other school leaders across the country, ask questions, learn, and grow. So be in there if you're not already. We'd love to see you in there. And then we will be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.